especially for families with young kids. That's really something that they want. So we're hoping to get that back, but we don't have that right now. Hmm. There we go. So what is positive psychology? I have a whole training on that. We don't have to get into the whole thing, but this is the framework that START utilizes. And the reason that we are different from a behavior plan is because that doesn't necessarily get at the whole picture. Um, yes, if somebody's doing something that is unsafe, we don't want them to do that anymore, but that doesn't mean that they feel better, right? It just means that they're not doing the unsafe thing. Maybe they're not throwing chairs anymore and nobody wants to be in a room where chairs are being thrown, right? Least of all me. I've been it, I've done it, I hate it. um, but just because somebody stopped throwing chairs does not mean that they actually feel better and that they feel like their life is fulfilling and worth living, right? There's different things that we need in order to feel good. We need to have positive emotions. Engagement. If somebody is sitting at home when they should be in school, they're not having engagement. So their perma is not being fulfilled. Relationships. People with autism may not do relationships well, but they all need relationships on some level. Everybody wants friends, and loneliness is really, really high amongst the autistic population. Meaning, we all need to have a life that we feel has meaning. Accomplishment, we all want to feel like we're doing things that are valuable and that are recognized. And the plus was added later, and it really encompasses wellness. So, physical wellness, emotional wellness, meditation, exercise, nutrition. Consider the headache. I mean, to really summarize PERMA really, really quickly is yes, we can take Tylenol for a headache, but then we're really not understanding the why, and we could very easily have more headaches. It could be because we are dehydrated. Maybe we are sick. Maybe we are stressed or not getting enough sleep. So even though, yes, everybody can take Tylenol for a headache, there's actually many reasons why we might have one. And unless we know the reason why, we're not going to be able to live a life free of headaches. Another resource that we have for people 18 and over is our resource center. For anyone enrolled in school, which is everyone that you guys support, they are able to come after age 18, but it would have to be on the weekends or during school holidays. We don't want to take people out of school. We have a lot of respect for our teachers and education, and START is not intended to be a replacement for that. We have up to 4 guests staying at a time. And this is not just a respite, but it is a therapeutic respite. So it is an opportunity for us to utilize all of the interventions that we recommend. We use positive psychology model. We have a morning meeting and an afternoon meeting. And we work on various goals with the individuals. So some of them maybe need help developing a better bedtime routine or proactive relaxation skills. So again, the START model is very person-centered, and we want to create goals and recommendations based on that person. Coaching, I'm going to kind of skim over because we don't have this right now. We had coaches. Again, it's not a replacement for ABA. The goal of coaching was really to work with the parents and sometimes with the schools or paras. It's really just an extension of what our coordinators already do, especially with our kids. The goal is capacity building. So we're not going to make a star chart that every time someone brushes their teeth, they get a star. What we're going to do, those programs already exist. What we do instead is we help the family create a bedtime routine where we break down brushing your teeth. It always happens at the same time. And this is how we give a 5-minute warning and a prompt to help everybody support brushing of the teeth. And the bulk, not the bulk of what we do, but our product, I guess you could say, is our crisis support plan. It is much longer than a behavior plan, and it is very wordy. And this is where we really break down everything that we think is going on with a person. And again, it can be really, really different for different people. We had somebody referred to us, and their system said, he's out of control. His psych meds need an adjustment. He needs to go to the hospital. We found out he has 30 cavities. That's incredibly painful. I feel very bad for this person. There's no psychiatric medication that is going to make your mouth feel better. So our role there was to help everybody pivot and focus on getting him dental care. So again, it's very different for different people. But we look at what are this person's medical diagnoses. Sometimes it's something as simple as this kid is constipated and they don't know how to tell you. And that is why they're so agitated. Um, Sometimes somebody might have diabetes and it turns out that their blood sugar is poorly managed. That causes agitation. That's not a psychiatric issue. So again, we really try to look at the big picture. We look at somebody's communication style. If they don't have a lot of words and the school is utilizing a communication device or other communication tools at school, and those aren't being used at home, maybe the parents are uncomfortable using it, or I get a lot of, well, we know what they mean. And that's maybe true 99% of the time, but if someone's coming to start, there's sometimes a little question about what do they mean. So, our coordinators can help the parents become more comfortable with using that tool at home. Um, Sometimes, we get a lot of kids who are hitting puberty and the parents, we respect parents. They're uncomfortable having certain conversations, and we sometimes see a need that conversation needs to happen. Um, so again, it varies. The plans are very variable, but we look at everything that is going on and we try to identify what might be making this person so upset. And then we also have intervention suggestions. Um, but the goal is always our preventative measures, right? We can address this crisis and address that crisis, but what we really want to do is get to the heart of the issue so that they stop completely, or, maybe not completely, but to the point where the family feels confident in supporting that person. And again, we can collaborate really with anybody. The family has to be comfortable with this, right? We're a systems provider. We do systems work. If families don't want people talking to their kids' doctor, I respect that. START might not be the program for them. I think one of the things that makes us so beneficial sometimes is that we have the ability to talk to the school, to talk to the family, to talk to the doctor, whoever. Because sometimes there's a little piece of information that's missing that is the most important part of the puzzle, right? We're like detectives. And we also do trainings. We do trainings individually with families, and we do monthly trainings in various forms. Um, and we can really do any topic. We just need some notice about that, but we do trainings on seizures. This month, we're doing one on marijuana. We do a lot on getting the diagnosis right. Is this really bipolar disorder? We often think maybe not. Um, an overview of autism spectrum disorder, the intricacies of autism spectrum disorder. So it really runs the gamut. Our main goal is to increase capacity, not just of the individual systems, but of the system as a whole. So New York City, anybody. How can we help everyone feel more comfortable coexisting with this population? I can just send you the testimonial for people to watch on their own time. Um, but does anybody have any questions?
If you'd like to play the one or two of the testimonials, that's perfectly fine.
I just don't know how, I don't think that this is actually hyperlinked. Um,
Let me see if I can pull it up for you.
okay, thank you.
Uh-huh, no problem. Chelsea, while I'm looking this up, can you explain? You used a couple of acronyms while you were speaking, and I think one of them is SSRI. So could you explain what that is for people who may not know?
Sure. Sorry. I feel like our field is just so many acronyms. It's hard
Yes,
to
yes.
remember that those stand for something. SSRI is an antidepressant. It also can help treat things like anxiety and PTSD. I'm sure you guys talk about trauma a lot. You know, people with intellectual disabilities are very susceptible to trauma,
Mhm.
and very at risk for abuse. So a lot of the people that we support have experienced trauma in one form or another. And because they have an intellectual disability, they might behave what seems to some to be erratically, and then they get incorrectly diagnosed as psychotic. So they're not given the right medication when really, it's PTSD. We say this until we're blue in the face. And, you know, medication for depression and PTSD is also much gentler on the body. So I think it's always better to at least start there and try that first. The less medication, the lowest amount possible is the best.
Thank you so much for that, Chelsea. I was able to put the link into the chat. Do you want to share that or do you want me to log in and share?
Let me see if my computer will let me. I'll
Okay.
go back to share screen. Okay. Oh, here we go. Can you guys see the YouTube?
Yes.
Thank you. Let me just see. I'm trying to make it full screen, but I don't know if it's going to let me. Is this big enough for everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
The audio isn't playing. Can anyone hear the audio?
No.
Chelsea?
You guys don't have the audio?
No, ma'am. Are you able to share the audio?
Okay. Sorry, I don't know. I don't know how to do it, to be honest.
Let me see if I can try.
Okay.
Second.
Oh, gosh.
She may have gotten booted. While we wait, does anybody have any other questions?
So she said, continue. I'm taking over. I'm the co-president.
Okay.
Andrea Daniels is my name. Go ahead.
Hi. Does anybody have any questions about START? No.
Yes, I do. I have a quick question. I would like to know, I think I overheard you stated that you you initially meet the families in the home. How often are you guys doing site visits? And if
So,
so,
if
and
so,
if
yeah.
so, um, and if so, um, what purpose is it regarding the individual that needs the behavior adjustment? That's one. I also overheard you mention something regarding training for the family. You mean training for the parents in the monthly training for the parents in how to manage the individual's behavior? And if so, how would that be implemented um, outside of START?
Okay.
Thank you.
So you had a couple of questions. The first one is how often do we have to go into the home? Um, so everybody who's enrolled with START comes in as a level 4, which is our highest level. That means somebody needs the most support. That is reevaluated after 3 months. But for those first 3 months, we need to be able to come into the family home twice a month. And you wanted to know what is the purpose of the in-home visits? Is that correct? Or were you asking what is the purpose of a referral?
The in-home visit. And then I
Okay.
have another question after that regarding the parental training.
So, we're not a school-based program. We're a systems-based program. Some people do really well at home and they have a really hard time at school. Some people do really well at school, and they have a really hard time at home. Some people have a hard time everywhere. I mean, it's really dependent on the person. We need to see them in their natural environment to know how to support them. Um, we're here to support schools and somebody who might have a hard time at school. But that's only one part of that person, right? So to get an idea of what's going on, um, we need to be able to meet this person at home. And what was the last part of your question?
Yes, Sammy. Come, Mr. Chef.
The training.
Right. Okay. So again, we do various kinds of trainings. Our goal is to increase capacity, right? So for each individual who's enrolled with us, after we complete that we call it a cross system crisis plan, right? Because we're looking at so many different factors. We would review that with the family. If we think that a family needs more psychoeducation on and a diagnosis on sensory items, then that's going to be what we do during those visits. Again, we can also come to the school. I mean, District 75 knows about autism, right? But maybe this one person has a particular sensory issue that might be being missed by a para. So we do a lot of work with paras and ComHab and respite workers. Again, either to provide them with psychoeducation or to learn from them. Maybe this person only does well with their para. That's amazing. So we want to know, what is that para doing that we can then bring to the rest of the school, to the home, to the doctor's office, wherever. And then we also have more systemic trainings. We do a different topic each month, on things like getting the diagnosis right, marijuana, how autism looks different in girls, etc.
Thank you so much. Do we have any additional questions in the chat? Let me take a moment to check in with the interpretation rooms. Do we have any questions in the Spanish room?
I will ask, one moment, please. No question in the Spanish room.
Thank you.
There is no question on the Mandarin room.
Thank you so much. And Bangla?
There are no questions on the Bangla room as well.
Chelsea, could you move your camera down a little bit so that they can see your face a little bit more? There you go. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Chelsea, what would you say in the sense, I know that you were speaking in regard to keeping children in their homes and hospitalizations and, police and 911 and those types of things. What would you do what would you say to encourage our parents to use these resources that are available to them?
We have a 24-hour crisis line. There are times when people feel that they have to call 911 right away because it is a life safety issue, but not every 911 call is a life safety issue. Something that one of our partners in OPWDD always says, who I think that it was a very profound observation, emergency room utilization is not a sign of how much in crisis that person is. It's a sign of how in crisis their system is. Some families will never call 911, even when there is a life safety issue.
Yes.
And some people that we support, there's trauma from a prior incident, or, many different things could be going on, and they'll call 911 when the individual starts yelling. So our crisis line is there for those kind of stage 1, stage 2 crises, especially, so that we can help the family feel confident in supporting their child so they don't have to involve the police. Sometimes it's just the parent needs to vent. Sometimes it's, can you go into a different room and we'll all take a deep breath together. We have parents calling us at 2 a.m. to complain that they don't like their kid's boyfriend. So, we're used for many, many different things. But we're kind of an intermediary between the family and 911.
What levels of supports do you also give the parents as you're walking through? Like, I know that you were saying you have the different trainings that you have, but once they get in with New York Start, are there specific supports that help the parents? Like, let's say our child has like the executive functioning issues. As you're working with the child, are you also giving these skills to the parent as you're moving them through this system?
So that's the goal. Again, we never just coach the individual to use coping tools by themselves. The families really need to be their external executive function. So we provide psychoeducation during our visits. And sometimes that psychoeducation is deep breathing. I've been doing this work for a long time, and I think families aren't always receptive to getting things like therapy for themselves. But if you do deep breathing with the parents and tell them you have to do it with your child, then everyone's deep breathing, even if the family doesn't see this as therapy for me. So we don't provide direct services to parents. Again, we're not their therapist. We can suggest very gently sometimes that they might want to explore that. but the tools are to be used by everybody. Not we can't expect somebody with a moderate intellectual disability to get upset and say, "Oh, hey, I'm upset, but it might be because I'm hungry. I should go get some food." It's the parents and, at school, the teachers and the para who have to really help them through that.
Right. There's a question in the chat. After the 18 months are over, is there any follow-up? What if families need support after the program?
So 18 months is the target. We have some people enrolled with us longer. There's no follow-up when we close, but people move through our program at the pace that they move. So like I said earlier, everyone comes in at level 4. So that is just our highest level. It means weekly contact, 2 in person a month and 2 virtual. And as the person starts to do better, they move to 1 contact every other week and only 1 in person a month. And then at level 1, it's every 3 months, right? So it's not exactly a follow up because they're still enrolled with us. And if, let's say, somebody has a period of stability for a month and a half, and then they have a seizure and now their behavior is out of control, we can always increase that level.
What do you mean when you, in the presentation, I wrote down biopsychosocial vulnerabilities. Can you speak a little bit more about those?
Sure. When we have a stressor going on or a vulnerability going on, it makes us more susceptible to a crisis. And those can be biological, meaning it can be because of diabetes or chronic constipation, or you have 30 cavities. It can be psychological, so maybe you're depressed or anxious or have PTSD. Or it can be social, maybe your home environment. Some of the people that we support have a family of 8 living in a 2-bedroom apartment. That's just stressful. And so when you have those things going on, you're not feeling well, you have no space of your own, your window of tolerance is going to be a lot smaller. I always like to use myself as an example. If it's a sunny day and it's beautiful, my boss told me, good job at work. And I come home and my husband didn't wash the dishes like he was supposed to, I'm going to shrug it off. But if it's a rainy day and I'm hungry, so I have that social stressor and that biological stressor, and I'm late for my assignments, and my husband didn't wash the dishes, I'm going to be really mad. So there's so many things that go into our reactions to a trigger. And so, the things that I listed, those are things that just happened to me maybe that day. But for a lot of the people that we support, they have chronic medical issues. Some of them really don't have a lot of socioeconomic resources. Maybe there's mental illness in their home. So that makes it harder for them to manage triggers, not just in one day or one evening, but throughout their lives.
Thank you so much. This was just an excellent presentation, and I'm going to post this online and also make the deck available so that people have the information to reach out to you. In case I missed it or someone came in late, what should be the first point of reference if people want to reach out to become a part of New York START? Should they go through their case coordinator? Can they reach out to YAI? What are the steps to move forward?
Arada's email is in that presentation. You can reach out to him. The care manager, they should have a care manager, but if you at the school want to make the referral, you can make the referral. It's just really important that the families know that the referral is being made.
I don't see the email in what I have. I'll check it out on my phone and then I'll make sure to get it to the different members and people who are here tonight. Do we have any additional questions for Ms. Shepherd? If not, I want to thank you so much for your time and for the resources. We will make sure to get this out expeditiously to any members who were not able to be here on tonight. I just want to double check one more time with our interpreters. Do we have any final questions or comments for Ms. Shepherd?
Checking in the Spanish line, 1 second. No questions or comments in the Spanish line.
Thank you. For Bangla
No questions on the Bangla line.
and for Mandarin.
No question from them.
Alrighty, with that being said, since we do have no further questions, we'll make sure to get this information out. We do want to say thank you once again to Ms. Chelsea Shepherd for your time and for YI bringing this presentation to our parents. We will get this online as soon as possible. At this point, it is 6:45 p.m. and we will release our interpreters. And we will also say thank you to everyone who's joined tonight. We do hope that this has been helpful for you. If you need any additional information, please do reach out to the council at d75council@schools.nyc.gov. And please do stay tuned with us because we are going to give you more information about HEAT, Be Heard, and the co-response team that works with the NYPD that will also support this program in addition to additional supports that they may not have. We want to cover you like an umbrella overall so that you have what you need. Again, good night, and thank you again for coming.